Describe the cover.
Describe it?
Yeah.
There's four maniacs in a truck rolling over trampled souls.
Basically,
representing Paula Garan, Michael Pendragon, a man that calls himself K.R. McGee. Oh, sorry.
And ubiquitous cynic.
Yes.
Not to mention the HWA and the whole. Oh, sorry. I didn't say that.
Well,
Hi, I'm Jeff, and I'm an alcoholic.
yeah, go ahead and describe yourselves, yeah. Or introduce yourselves.
I'm being attacked by an M&M.
A coffee bean. It's a coffee
bean. This is Mr. Coffee Bean. Mr. Coffee Bean, he is smiling because he did not go through the decaffeinated process. It didn't take with him, so he's still potent. That's like neutering coffee beans. It's just like, they don't stray far from the porch, then they're good.
We flew to California to talk about coffee beans.
Okay, well, introduce yourself.
I'm Mikey,
Yeah.
a.k.a. Mikey. When I finished describing it, because he forgot the important part of Gak's picture, Gak expected that each one of us would be one of these characters on here, and the mean thing that he did is he didn't tell us which one was which.
Oh.
But it was easy to pick me. I work in nuclear power, and this guy's wearing a gas mask, therefore that must be me. And I'll let everybody describe their own character, of course. Mine has a rifle with a scope on it, and I'm the only one of us who doesn't own a rifle, so...
Oh, so it's, yeah.
I'm a really good driver.
Oh, bullshit.
So, as you can see, I'm driving the vehicle.
Actually, it just looks like him.
Is there sort of a Paul is dead sort of thing going on in here where,
No, George and, the rest of them are dead, but Brian is the walrus, actually.
They are the Eggmen.
And this one? Go ahead, Mike, your turn.
This is the quiet beetle.
Yeah, they tell me I'm the George Harrison of the group.
oh,
I'm Michael Oliveri, and Gak says I'm this one with the funky mohawk and the spikes. Kind of keeping things together, I suppose.
this makes me think of those, the cartoons. Remember that magazine Cartoons? It's sort of like the Big Daddy Ed Ross.
That's who he took it after, was Big
really?
Daddy Ed Ross, yeah.
Oh, that's great. Have you guys done this before? Have you done the road trip before? I mean, or is this...
Our first signing tour.
This is our first quadruple sign.
Yes.
Well, we actually get together as a group at least once a year, and this is our third or fourth time this year, right?
Here's a photo from that on the back. They call this Prozac after dark.
You really do get close with that.
Yeah, it's great. I can get really close. Oh, maybe too close.
I should have trimmed my nose hair.
Yeah, we've done signings as part of groups and conventions, but never as the headliners, really.
I don't do signings and stuff just because I figure I'm a nobody, so why bother?
Is this sort of like the Rat Pack, thing? Who's the Sammy of the...
Well,
Mikey.
none of us can sing it. I'll be Sam.
Mikey's the most artificial part.
He doesn't have a glass eye, however.
But I've got a half a pound of steel in this ankle and titanium plates on my neck.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I spun my ankle 180 degrees about 13 or 14 years ago, and they kept trying to rebuild it like the Bionic Man, and they finally failed, so they fused it. They screwed it all together, and I have no ankle now.
When you get to airport security, does it go off?
Yes.
Wow. And did you say you had a plate in your head?
Yeah. Oh, no, I've got plates in my neck.
Oh, okay.
A scar right
Is
there.
it a Star Trek commemorative plate? Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, they're not Star Trek. They're titanium, though. I understand titanium is expensive. You can't get in my neck and get them.
We've debated taking him to the scrap yard for extra beer money, but
It's kind of neat. They make those iMac laptops out of titanium. So.
Yeah.
You can turn me into a computer.
Well, so like, okay, so it's 4x4. So it's, what does it mean?
We have, that means 4 tires for our driving.
Because it's a 4-wheel drive, right?
Actually,
4x4?
the way it started
No,
was...
I'm as serious as cancer.
it's a statement
is.
against the SUV culture.
It is. Yeah. No, we're very. I'm going to tell you how to vote.
Actually, the idea was initially these two, Mike Oliveri and Brian Keene, collaborated on a story. And that
We're
sort of
married, but
blossomed.
not to each other.
That sort of blossomed into a collaborative effort with all of us. We each have an individual story, and then we each collaborated with two of the others, so that there's a couple undone collaborations that.
Gak rocks, because Gak, who did the art,
We need your face.
brought
Did the art on coffee.
coffee.
No, the whole 4x4 thing, it's a mindset. You know, the four of us have kind of banded together because nobody else in the genre could stand us. So it's,
I mean, it says it right here. They met in a chat room where they decided to take over the horror genre and make a few enemies along the way. It's all his fault.
I had nothing to do with it.
It bullshit.
Is there any ideas for the next project you guys have come up with?
Sleep. That's my next project.
Concept. We've talked about, we haven't planned anything. We just talked about whether or not we'd be willing to do it, but we all
We're
have,
half an hour late to get here.
we all are interested in doing it, but we all have other commitments ahead of us. So we haven't set a time, we haven't talked to a publisher, we just batted the idea around.
Of course, we have several solo projects. Everybody's working on their own thing, trying to keep up with, you know, some of us are working on screenplays, some of us are working on novels, short story collections. It depends, you know, when we fit into the schedule and how, I guess, how well this does. I mean, it's been doing very well so far. It's been out, what, a month? Tops? Not even. 2 weeks for the
October,
hardcover?
yeah.
And we're 3/4 way sold out, so it's going very, very
Selling
well.
quickly. Publisher's amazed. We're amazed.
Keene, you suck.
Well, that's why it is selling so quickly, actually.
Yeah, that was good for ammunition against him. You know.
Well, did you guys actually like each other before you met?
I hate these fuckers.
Yeah, no. We met online, and it's not a Turkish prison. Don't listen to Coop.
No, it wasn't. It was Swarthog Mental Health Center.
It wasn't like a porno site that you guys met on?
No. It was a horror site that had a chat room, and we all frequent. I can't say that word.
Frequented.
Thank
Yes.
you. We did that.
We
and-
went there.
We met the first time in '99.
In person.
Horror convention in Atlanta.
Yeah.
In person. Brian and I split a room. Then we found
half.
Mikey, and these two almost killed each other before they realized who they were. And
Sort of an opposite of animal magnetism, whatever that is.
yeah.
It's the whole yin-yang thing.
Actually, it was Matt Schwartz's HeartNet. Matt Schwartz, who doesn't run it anymore, who's going to be opening a bookstore. Here's your plug, Matt. And he's going to be online, and he's in New York right now. And it's Matt Schwartz's fault. You know, I mean, he made HorrorNet. I went there for the first time in late '96. And, you know, I ran into everybody, you know, through there. I mean, that's where I met everyone, you know, Ray Garton, Ryan Harding, I mean, you know, Everett Lee, I mean, the people that matter, you know? I mean, it's like, I mean, these guys.
HorrorNet was neat because not only did we meet each other, I mean, we met our icons, you know, like he said, Edward Lee, Ray Garton, Dick Lehman, Tom Piccirilli, Ryan Hodge, you name it, they were there at the beginning.
Well, this is kind of neat. I mean, this is like horror dating almost. I mean, you found a website, you guys met, you've created, you know, a child.
There's been nothing conjugal involved. No. We have slept together, but
Well, the
mostly
trout,
rest.
the hooker and the trout, that's conjugal. But that's another story.
Oh, what the hell are they talking about?
The fuck is conjugal?
You're a writer, you should know.
I don't use that high dollar word crap.
Okay, we
I edited it down.
We haven't fucked.
Thank you.
Can we say fuck?
Yeah, you can. It's going to be, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. You know, since you're talking about HorrorNet and you met your icons and people that you admire, you must have the new generation of fans that, you know, read your stuff and.
He's got his whole entourage following him around Baltimore every day.
He does.
Yes.
You've sold more books than I have.
Please.
But you have more groupies.
Yes.
Because he's the
I
quiet
get the
beetle. The
groupies.
quiet beetle never had groupies.
Paul gets the groupies.
Let's talk about the groupies. What are the horror groupies like?
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
You know, be nice. I could really fuck with you
do
in
it.
here.
Go ahead.
There's lots of black leather and pale skin involved.
Eyeshadow.
Eyeshadow.
Eyeshadow. Hot tubs.
Hot tubs.
What appears?
Bathrooms at conventions.
Yeah, that's
Yellow signs.
yellow signs. There's you know, but really, I'd rather go hear Brian Hodge read. To be honest with you,
What are some of the groupies that you have? The horror groupies. What?
the horror groupies that I have, my girlfriend's sitting over there. Are you out of your frickin' mind?
Mike and I,
Well, before you met your girlfriend.
I'm going to take the fifth.
No, you don't drink.
and Mikey and I are probably the only two without groupies, because
Yeah.
we're married. I got a kid, he's got kids.
And I just want to say for the record, I'm engaged, and honey, you know, the groupies thing,
Not that
it's
it
all
stops
show.
him.
I live in Idaho. We don't have groupies. We have potatoes.
That's what happens when you're the George and Ringo of the group, the quiet one and the, sorry, ugly one.
They're saying Beatles, dude. We're Spinal Tap.
Yeah, that's probably closer.
We're the monkeys,
No,
and I'm Mike
we're Spinal
Neesmith.
Who's the exploding drummer?
Why do I always have to be the dead one?
The artificial parts.
Because you're half plastic and steel.
Next week he gets his robo-nads put in, and he'll be ready to go.
That's a story. This is a story. This is
No, there's no story.
a story title.
It just came up in a chat room, and it's stuck.
I picture robonads.com or
No.
robonads.net.
I don't know if Brian spelled it on your website.
One of us has had his nads almost cut off, though.
Really?
That's a true story.
Was it paper cut?
No. It's a horrible industrial accident.
Well, let's hear that story.
It was
Actually, if you buy Personal Demons from Lone Wolf Publications, available online, you can read all about it. There's your plug, Hopkins.
Wow. I never. That's. Oh,
Don't show him.
don't do it.
He has a camera. It's a public place.
Yes.
Well, you said the F word.
Well, how long? Okay, let's start with you.
Sure.
Sort of run off the resume. I mean, like how where did you first, discover, horror, and then realize, as a fan, and
When
then,
I first discovered, well,
and then
horror.
what inspired you to do this?
All right. Back when Moby Dick was a minnow, and Stephen King was trying to make ends meet. I'm serious. That's how long ago it was.
Not that old.
I was 6.
Okay.
That's when I got my first typewriter, and I started writing little stories then, because just as like part of the exercises, the finger exercises. And I started writing them, and there was like stupid stuff. My dog got lost. I couldn't find my dog. I had to find my dog. My mom was mad at me, and found the dog. It was covered in goose shit. That's what I was writing then. I didn't really start writing horror until I stopped doing drugs, which would have been 88. I started writing horror in rehab because the counselors there pissed me off.
Can we say pissed?
I just did. And I wrote, my first real, horror stories, juvenile, I was 17, and, it was just about the counselors that, annoyed me, and they all met violent endings, torn apart by whatever, something, anything, didn't matter as long as they got, vivisected. I read a lot of it, but I didn't really write it just because I thought, writing wasn't really my gig. It was more about, getting stoned and, coking up and playing guitar, and I thought I was going to be Richie Blackmore. I didn't. That's what I thought. I thought I was going to be playing guitar or bass or something. I didn't really, and then when I was still into music for a while, I got out of the music just because, with a band, you have 4 or 5 guys, and you're trying to get them to do one thing, and as you can see by the time we showed up here today, that invariably gets screwed up. with the writing, it's more of a solo deal. It's just me, so make it or break it, it's all me, and I don't have anyone, I don't have to worry about the drummer's girlfriend not liking the guitarist's, fiance or anything like that, and the bass player sleeps with everyone. So, I mean, it's just, you don't have that kind of... Yeah, I was the bass player, yeah. And,
I mean, is it fair to say that, I mean, it sounds like, in a way that, writing or even like maybe the horror genre is sort of healing for you,
Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of my stuff is, it's personal. Probably too much of it is based on reality, like the story in here, in 4x4, the names have been changed to protect the guilty, and that's it. I mean, it's not, a lot of my stuff is based in reality, like very, I mean, even if it's like supernatural, even if it's very out there, it all comes from reality.
How did you meet your wife?
How did I meet my wife?
Yeah.
My ex-wife?
Is this your girlfriend?
That's my
Oh,
girlfriend.
sorry about
I met my ex-wife,
that. Hold on a second.
it was a match made in hell.
Can't hide, Jen.
It's the bald one, right there.
Hi there.
Oh, she's cute.
Thank you, we're quite close.
I have a thing for bald guys.
Here, you know why he said that?
A second. Okay, there we go. I thought I broke a mirror or something. He has a face
What
to
was the
stop
question
it.
again?
Let's see. It was about your girlfriend. Like, how did you? I mean, did you meet your girlfriend in this particular period?
No. The reason, I think part of the reason Jen and I are still together is because she doesn't really have anything to do with the horror genre.
Yeah, because I would say that would be hard. I mean, I know, like...
No, hard? No, hell no.
No, I'm just like...
Impossible, frickin'.
Well, I mean, just...
Yes, I fit frickin' in the middle of it.
I noticed that.
That was a style.
You're a writer.
Okay, so how about you? When you were in rehab, what did...
That's an assumption. No, I never did rehab. I'm still quite, no. I started writing when I was like really young and never even thought about publishing until my senior year. I was in a creative writing class and a teacher says, hey, this is good work. I think the biggest part for me was working on my storytelling and the craft because the English grasp for me was always there. I figured I'd be a journalist if I wasn't a writer. I mean, I tested out of the first two levels of English in college. I mean, so I knew I could do that. I figured I got a shot at it and I stuck it through. I think it was 98 that Mikey brought me into HorrorNet. And I met these guys, got tight, and they convinced me to go to the World Horror Convention. And it's been uphill ever since. I mean, not uphill in a fight, but it's been, a constant, everything, it gets better every year. And, I actually started off with science fiction, fantasy, that kind of thing. And I wrote, my first horror story was The Burden. I wrote that in 98 in the summer. Sold to Black Petals, just a small press magazine. And from there, I realized horror just came easier. And when these guys started telling me who else is out there besides the big three on the bookshelves, besides, Rice, King, Kuntz, and Barker.
Sometimes
Rice,
Barker.
Rice is, never mind Rice, I don't read her.
Is that Bob Barker?
Clive Barker.
Oh, Clive Barker. I was thinking-
Bob Barker.
Bob Barker
That's a
is
different,
scary too.
it's a different horror story. But that's when I started reading up on a lot more horror and
That's when we
realized,
started buying vowels.
yeah. And it just came easier. I liked it more. And if you ask me, it's a better community. I've been to sci-fi conventions and it's just different. We'll leave it at that.
Sorry, dude. Those 300-pound women in the brass bras. Dude.
Yeah.
That's
Leave
just
my
not-
groupies out of it.
Hey.
Right. But that's about it. I mean,
When I always think about, you always, or at least I hear about people doing like, selling a short story, to some small press or some magazine, and they sort of get discovered. I mean, those magazines are they? I mean, what happens?
you have to start somewhere, is the way I figure it. I mean, there's very few people that can come right out and sell a novel right off the bat, or to like Cemetery Dance. I mean, it helps if they know who you are and they read your stuff when it comes in on the select file. But, you know, you start small and build up a fan base. I know Brian did the same thing. Lots of small press magazines, and a lot of people were emailing him, hey, this is, you know, good stuff, and built up from there. And still don't have a problem selling small press.
Yeah, you know, I'm a huge fan of like the old pulp days. You know, like the Black Mask and those things back in the, back in the old times where it just seems like, I mean, you know, maybe it's sort of the nostalgic thing. You know, where you read this stuff and you think, wow, you know, Dashiell Hammett and all these guys, and it must have been great. You know, people waiting for the train or whatever, and they've got a rolled up, a magazine in their back pocket. You know, do you think that we have a situation that's like that? Is there enough readership that we're, you know, that you have something in a short story and people can read it and go, oh, you know, oh, I'll remember that name, Brian Keene or whatever, and then I'll, you know.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
To some extent, we're coming full circle. You know, the famous Lovecraft circle. You know, it was a bunch of writers. They all started out getting published in these little pulp magazines, and they read each other's stuff, and that still exists. Probably even more so with the internet. But now, by the same token, there is so much stuff out there. Your chances of being read and being remembered are slim and none.
Yeah.
You really have to work at it.
What is something that a writer can do now? Because you really have to do something that.
Porn.
Yeah. Really? Seriously?
Not me. Oh, sorry.
I've eaten worms live on stage. I've drank a cup of human spit, a cup that was passed around the
I was gonna
audience.
say, it would take a while
during
to
a reading.
accumulate that, wouldn't it?
You do what you can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, well, but you did that. Did you do that just as a self-promotion kind of thing to get your name remembered?
Everything I do is self-promotion.
Yeah. I mean, because you have to do that. Like you said, the marketplace is so crowded. It seems like, you know, like even now I keep reading about like you know, these e-zines and stuff. Nobody's getting paid writing this stuff, are they?
Very
few.
Yeah.
Some e-zines pay, you know.
Well, I mean, it depends on what your definition of e-zine is. I mean,
Right.
if it's Bob and Ted's Sandpaper Emporium and Horror Showcase, you know, I mean, you're not going to get paid, you know.
Yeah,
But I won't work for those guys.
But if
I
it's
mean,
Gothic net,
if it's Gothic
you're gonna get
net,
paid.
hell yeah.
There's your plug, Darren.
Yeah, Gothic.net, www.gothic.net. They
Enough
jam so hardcore, you need earplugs to go to the site. I mean,
Yeah.
they just rock.
One of the problems with the internet is anybody can put up anything, and I mean, I had a hard time finding a lot of horror content. I mean, I was probably by luck that I found the Fright Right group that Mikey and I were in, and I mean, there was just so much just junk. I mean,
There still is an enormous amount of junk. Like Mike said, all you have to do is, if you've got a hard drive, you've got an e-zine. And what a lot of people make a mistake at is that they don't see the benefit to an independent editor, somebody who has to a competition to get in the space to be published. They go to a friend or they go to their own website and they put it up. And yes, you can do that, and you can call it a magazine, but you don't benefit because you don't have to compete with your peers. I think the competition is important. Not to say that I haven't published at e-zines, because I have, but.
But I mean, can you make a living? I mean, can you actually make a living nowadays?
Very few people do.
And
That's
a
the
lot of the
sad
ones
fact.
that do don't make very much money. I mean, they're writers, full-time writers, and they're living on $10,000, $12,000 a year.
If you walk into a Barnes & Noble and imagine all those books on the shelf by all those different writers, probably 20% of those writers are actually doing it for a
probably
living.
less, probably like 10% is what I've been
The
hearing.
rest of them still have day jobs.
You know, and being, I mean, like doing like the work I do, as small as it is in the media, I get a lot of, you know, books and things sent to me, you know, wanting me to like do some sort of review or some sort of interview, and I get so many books from, you know, from people that have written things with like iUniverse or iPublish, or,
Libris.
stuff like that, and I feel so. I mean,
It's
yeah, I'm not trying to judge anybody, but I always,
Sure.
I mean, because I know some people have been able to do it, but I always feel it's kind of sad, you know, that these people have, you know, spent some money.
A lot of them really could have benefited from an editor or an editorial hand, at least. It's almost the same phenomenon as the internet. If you can come up with some money, you can get yourself published. I mean, even, I think Ex Libris, their basic at first was free. So you just send them anything, and they'll just put it between a cover and shoot it out.
You have a boogie
been
in your nose.
Yeah, great. There've been a few, now I won't blow. Anyway.
Show it when you're done.
No, thank you.
Auction that all the way.
There's nothing.
Sign that.
So, yeah. So anyway, if,
Dot that I.
man, I completely lost my train of thought. Oh, there've been a few good books out of there, like Louis Maestro's Big
Louis'
Punch.
book.
There's your plug, Louis.
Yeah.
That was a great book. It got great reviews.
Let's pick at why, though. Besides the fact that Louis is a good writer and an experienced writer, Louis is also a small businessman.
Yes.
And he knows how to market. So the reason why Louis has turned a profit on his self-publishing is not just because of the quality of the book, but because he knows how to sell it. A good example would be me. I am not a salesman. If I can write a good book, I can't sell a good book. So I would not self-publish because I would fail. Whereas Louis, Brian could do it too, because Brian's a salesman.
Louis had his own music store.
The best advice I can give a beginning writer, yes, it's important that you write. And yes, it's important that you practice your craft. But you also need to learn how to work it. You need to learn salesmanship. You need to learn marketing. You need to learn promotion. Because there are thousands of others out there, you know.
You know,
I mean, unlike these guys, I didn't start writing until 1997. And I sold my first story in 97. And my theory has been blanket everything in the genre with my stuff. You throw enough of it up against the wall, something's going to stick. It's starting to stick.
Is writing now sort of, oh, well, I guess maybe it always has sort of been, but I was thinking like when the grunge scene started, where everybody had a garage band, you know, where a writer can, you know.
There have been subgenres, like there was the splatter punk movement. These guys probably know the history a little better than I do.
Yeah.
But there's been little movements here and there.
But
Is there one now? It's hard to say.
Well, I was sort of thinking in the sense that, like a band, you know, I always see these marketing tips for bands. They always have these little books like how to, you know, how to market your band and everything. And you seem very rock and roll band oriented. I mean, you see these things like how to get your band heard, how to get airplay by your band.
No, I
I'm
mean,
sure-
there's a
I'm
lot
sure
of
the same-
similarities.
Yeah,
There's a lot of similarities between writing and music.
Yeah.
A lot. And, you know, you can, if you understand one, you can apply it to the other, you know. That's a lot what I did. I mean, I do, like Brian, you know, Brian's idea of self-promotion and mine, and, you know, it's two different things. You know, I don't go to conventions and like work the convention. Later for that. You know, I'm gonna hang out in the bar with Gak and Dave Barnett, sit there and talk about how Mouse took over Disneyland, you know, or Orlando.
But how do you, I mean, but how does your, how does your work get, you know?
He makes me do it.
Is it?
I don't make you do it. Hell no. Hell no. No, I mean, how does my stuff get out there? People read it, people dig it, you know, great. You know, I'm not gonna, I'm more of attraction rather than promotion. I mean, that's just me personally, you know. I mean, if you dig it, you know, I'm totally cool with that. You know, anybody, I know, I'll talk to anybody.
I think these two represent the two big different philosophies. Jeff believes in putting his stuff into the right venue and getting the audience there, whereas Brian, wherever he can get a venue, he draws the audience with him. And that's, I mean, it's something, I think Mike and I fall somewhere in between, but these two, I mean, it's you're one way or the other for the most part. I mean, there's the two sides.
And
You
neither
work
way is
both.
wrong.
Right.
they
work 'em
they
both,
both work
but,
to some degree.
I guess I always sort of like the idea of being able to be sort of you know, a mini mogul of your own thing, where you create your music or you create your, you know, I mean, I just like the idea of being able to dream and make a living off of dreaming. I know it's awfully simplistic, but is that what kind of, you know, that's kind of, I mean, if you break
I
it down.
bend wrenches for a living. I'm a mechanic. I would so much rather pay the electric bill from something that I wrote. I mean, and I don't think anybody that writes, well, I could think of like one exception. I could think of one guy that doesn't take money for writing, you know, but really, I mean, it is You know, that's what it's about. I mean, I won't, you're not gonna get me. I won't write for less than 3 cents a word, period, understory.com. Just won't happen.
That's one of the things that, I was talking about.
Just won't happen. I don't do that quarter-cent a word, I don't do that fanzine, I don't do that freezine, I don't do that crap.
That's the thing that, going back to the whole pulp thing, when I read about these guys that were back in the 20s or whatever, they're getting like a penny a word, and then you go and look now, it's still a penny a word. It's like,
penny a word.
holy
That's a
mackerel.
that's a rant that comes up at every convention. Why is we're making the same rates we
You're
make
trying
the
to get
entire
me
century.
sideways, aren't you? You're trying to get me sideways.
No, it's just it's so weird that,
No, I got paid the same as Lovecraft did 40 years, 60 years later. What up?
Yeah, you just can't,
What
make a
up?
living on
And,
short
and a
stories.
lot of that is because writers don't speak up about it. You've got basically what is the Horror Writers Union, the HWA, Horror Writers of America, Horror Writers Association. They say it's acceptable for us to get 3 cents a word. That qualifies you as a professional.
Oh, that's...
Let me comment from a professional buyer, Ellen Datlow, and she said it on the HWA board not too long ago. She said it's a buyer's market because she can find good horror for 3 cents a word. Somebody will sell it. So as long as somebody will sell it for 3 cents a word, it will be sold at 3
Yeah,
cents
but I
a
mean,
word.
all right. To make a book, okay? You're making the book, right? You got the book. We'll just take this out of the way because the artists, they don't get paid worth of crap either.
Which is also unfortunate.
Do you, Gak? What? Artists, you guys don't get paid worth of crap either.
You know what, I hate to say it, but I think we get paid better than the writers.
I know you do. I know you do. All right, but you got your book, okay? You got your book, you got your material, all right? The guy that made this material in 1926, okay, and the guy that's making it now, they got stuff like cost of living increases, et cetera, et cetera. The guy, the ink, okay, that's got more expensive. The people that work in that, they get more money, okay? You got the paper, all right? Where does the paper come from? Trees, okay? What happened to the trees? You cut them down. Who do you pay to cut them down? A logger. You know what? They're making more money.
Those trees are making...
How do they get from Oregon to the book place? By truck. Gas has gone up, so the guy's pumping the gas has got more money. The guy that's fixing the truck has got more money. Trust me, I know that's what I do for a living. The guy that's driving the truck got more money, okay? The editors get more money to put it together. We're still getting the same. What up? End of rant.
And I see these blank books, I go in like the gift stores, and I see these blank books, like hardback blank books with just blank pages.
Yeah.
So they're the same price sometimes or more than
Yeah,
a
yeah.
book built.
What you're paying for most of the time
Is the paper?
is the paper.
Yeah, I mean, I could be a writer of a blank book, and
Yeah,
I'm
you
sure
can
they make
publish
just as
blank
just
books,
and make
like
just as
little
much.
freaking journals, put a
Writer of a blank book.
It should
put
be.
a 2 cents, put a 2 cent clasp on it, call it somebody's diary, and you're gonna make it.
That's why a lot of people want to turn it electronic, but more people still want to read it here, have it on the shelves. I mean, I'd rather
Yeah,
have a book
turn
on
it
the shelf.
electronic, so we can really get no money.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I don't think ebooks are ever going to replace
That's how we're
a real
probably
book. Sitting down on a winter's night in the recliner with something in your hands that
With a
you
pipe
can
and a
feel
smoking jacket.
and smell and eat, as opposed to, a computer monitor. It's not going to happen.
A writer with a writer for the pica market where people could actually eat the paper. Isn't that what it's called, pica, when you have the disease that you want to eat paper?
I've never, I don't,
Is that what it is? Okay. Pica pica? Yeah. Okay. Well, that was my way of creating a lull in the conversation. Gak, wake up. Pull the chair over. I want to. If anybody, I know you guys have already talked to these guys, but I would love to have, come over here. What's your name? Jack, come over here. Jack, you're the scariest one here. Come over here. I swear.
That's why he's Jack the Ripper.
I can't tell you how scared everyone in this complex was when you were walking by. They were like, get the Jerry, I think he's waiting for you.
Oh, God, I got stopped by more security guards than any drug dealer in the history of the world.
Ask these guys something, be audience participation here. Then something that, you've always wanted to ask them, and
you're supposed to put your hand up and say, ooh, ooh, ooh.
Wasn't that Horseshack?
Yeah, well,
you can't say Horseshack on this.
Can we say Horseshack? We can say pissed, but we can't say Horseshack.
Apparently can't, he just did.
Okay.
I don't,
He knows
Oh,
it's good.
see,
yeah, it's one of those, I got a question, I, email him and,
Well, you know,
I know where to find him, and it's like, if I have a question, I ask him.
Are they circumcised?
Fair question.
fair question, go around.
What was the question, Jack?
No, don't, I don't want to know that.
Who wants to know?
Come up here and ask you. Did you ask that?
Jack, you're not thinking of anything. Can you think of anything else? I mean, what is it about these guys that inspire you? Or do they inspire you?
Yeah. Got everything. Nobody handed them anything. You know, they
Well,
really
Gak
work
handed
at
me
it.
this iced tea, so technically that's not true.
I'm speaking metaphorically. But it's that writer thing.
So there's sort of the self-made kind of
Well,
thing.
yeah, it's just, I mean, they're to me, the nuts and bolts. I mean, you got a lot of other guys.
Both of them nuts. Sorry.
You've got bolts.
It's like Stephen King. I should get like Stephen King, and opinions vary as to how well he writes. Nobody's opinion varies as to whether or not he sells. He sells, makes tons of money. But I just look at that, and from the standpoint of being a writer especially, a lot of the books he sells has nothing to do with how well he writes, what he writes, or whether or not it's any good. It's big marketing stuff. And, you know, it's getting into Barnes and Nobles on a bestsellers list to get you 30% off. So that's much more likely that somebody's going to buy you and keep you on the bestsellers list and keep you making money. These guys do it on nothing but sheer hard work and talent. And you know when you pick up something by these guys, and by a lot of the guys in the small press, you know you're going to get damn good quality because they're there on nothing but damn good quality and hard work. And, you know, it wasn't some marketing genius or some, you know, some guy I know in the publishing business or whatever they got in there. It was their hard work, and you know what you're going to get when you get there. And it's always good stuff. I've never read anything by him that disappointed me at all.
Wow. Wow, how about that, huh? Man, was that... Well, thank you. Wow, thank you very much. Okay, so what's your name?
My name is Maria Alexander.
Maria Alexander. And what, you know, are you a reader and a fan, or...
I'm a writer.
You're a writer as well?
And friends with these guys. I met most of them at WorldCon. Mikey had actually accepted 2 of my stories for Carpe Noctem, and he was fiction editor at Carpe Noctem, and that's how I got to meet him.
So, were you able to hear any of the stuff we were talking about like starting out and writing and like where all this is it you can identify with that kind of thing, right?
Quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, are you able to make a living as a writer? I mean, is there...
Not as a fiction writer. I am a professional writer, and I've made my living as a writer, professional writer, for over 10 years, but not as a fiction writer. There was a stint where I was doing online fiction writing for virtual worlds and online games, and I did make a living at that for a couple of years.
I mean, do you hear that a lot? I mean, it's so funny, like, if you know, so many people, I mean, how many times do you hear when someone says, oh, you know, I have a novel in me, and you know, or I want to be a writer. What does it take to be, that must be the most annoying questions, but I was going to say, when, you know, I totally lost what I was going to say. Oh, wait, no, but no, I was just,
I can tell you the most annoying question.
Oh, what is the most annoying question? Have I asked it yet?
And they say, I have this idea for a book. Do you want to write it?
Oh, yeah.
No. No, I think you should write that story. I couldn't possibly do it justice.
But I mean, have you ever been in a situation where you tell someone like like a family member or a cousin, they say, "Oh, what do you do?" "I'm a writer." "Oh, but what do you do for a living?" You know? I say, "Well, no, I write for a living." No, really.
But when they ask me that question, I have to give them another answer because I don't write for a living, and none of us write for a living.
Oh, really?
In LA, you have to give them the answer. Because as soon as you say writer, they assume that you're a screenwriter.
Yeah.
They absolutely, that's the first thing that comes to mind.
So in LA, what you do is...
I mean, you know, this is also a state where you can't smoke in bars and your cars are too restricted and you can't protect yourself. Fuck it.
Hey, we have the best weather.
Whatever.
But in LA, you tell someone, say, oh, I'm a writer, but what do you do for a living? "Oh, I'm an actor." You know?
Yeah.
I do know people like that.
Yeah.
There's some guys I met at WorldCon for the first time, and I kept meeting Brian, and kept meeting him, and kept meeting him.
Brian,
Sounds like an idea for a horror story.
Oh,
I
man.
think that
The reoccurring Brian?
Oh. Well, okay, do you know her well?
I
No.
wouldn't say well.
But
I don't
she's,
think they slept together.
yeah, but I mean, like, so, so, I mean, is this, I mean, you see this a lot, right? I mean, I know she's an individual, but you see a lot of people like this that say they're, fans of you, and they probably want to siphon some sort of, information and,
No, I don't see it like that.
Yeah?
I see it as equals. You
Yeah.
know, we're all in this together. Great line, Robert De Niro in Brazil, and so true. I mean, and we are, and if I can help somebody, that's great, because I sure as hell know there were a bunch ahead of me
Yeah.
to help me out.
yeah. So you can,
And since then, Brian published one of my stories on Horror Find, and now I'm in negotiations with an editor for it to be reprinted in an anthology. So, I mean, it's all good.
wow, so, I mean, so it must make you feel, that must give you sort of a sense of pride that, you can
It gives
help
me a
someone,
buzz.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'll be honest.
Yeah. I mean, it should be almost like a similar
You
buzz.
barely walk through doors anymore. It's swelled head.
You never
This guy's
could.
ego has its own, this guy's ego has its own zip code,
You know, Brian's interesting when he goes to the cheap shop.
But that's the charm.
What? I need this. Because we're in California, I can't have this here.
Oh, okay.
He needs some, he's got too much oxygen in his nicotine system.
Yeah.
He needs to
He's done.
replenish.
Yeah. Okay, while he's gone, come here. I want to ask you some questions. This would be great, because I want to pull your chair up, or, yeah. So, you met him. You weren't really a horror fan or a reader, were you?
No.
So that didn't attract you to him at all?
No, but I'm a reader.
You're a reader? You're a reader? Were you a reader of horror before you met him?
Apparently, yes. I've read some of the books he has, but I didn't know.
You, did you know he was a writer when you met him?
Yeah.
So would you say were you a fan of his before you?
No, I haven't read it.
So it's not like the Yoko Ono thing where you think, oh, I never knew who John Lennon was. It was. What does your like family and friends think of being involved with with a writer? I mean, or even like the genre of what he does. Did they ever? They have no problem?
No.
Really? He's like, look at that, look. He's like, well, okay, now move your hands a lot like you're talking about something, and act like you're angry. You're angry, like,
Go like this.
No, go like you're buried in that, and point, and,
Wildly gesticulate, women.
yeah. Okay, now, but no, you never had any, like, you say, introduce this to your boyfriend. Oh, what does he do? He's a writer. Oh, what does he write? Horror. Oh, really? No, you never get any of that?
Yeah, I guess a lot of people say, oh, I don't like it.
Yeah. Everyone, isn't it funny, like, that's,
But then they turn around and they say, well, I like Stephen King.
yeah,
And-
that is the strangest thing.
Yeah.
I always wonder about that because, when, it's like that's, you could say, oh, he writes science fiction, and there's like, oh, no opinion. But if you say they write horror, or you write something, they go, ooh, they instantly have an opinion on it.
Yeah, I think they make the judgment based on movies. And when you have, like, I think the first thing that comes to mind is Jason or Freddy, and they assume the books are the same. Because I think more people are movie watchers than readers, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's very unfortunate. I work for a high school, and it's like pulling teeth getting half the kids to read a book. We have a reading day, and they'll grab a magazine and look at the pictures, just so we stay off their back. But I think, back to the main subject we were talking about, more people picture these slasher flicks or whatever, and they assume that's horror. They don't realize some people are writing basically along the same lines as Poe, Lovecraft, Mikey's a big Machen fan, things like that. And they figure horror means nothing but blood and guts.
Which I write very little of.
Right.
I kill people, but I don't want them to bleed.
Yeah, well,
I do write some blood and guts, but it's not the focus of the story.
I remember my high school creative writing teacher was a huge horror fan, and he would bring, horror into the school and let us read. And then I remember he got fired because it wasn't anything, graphic or anything. It was just more, some of it is like, O. Henry kind of stuff. Some of it wasn't or like Monkey's Paw or even, something like that.
Yeah.
And remember, it was like, but I remember, that's when we all started really reading. Even other things,
Yeah.
In Missouri.
Oh.
Yeah, and so,
Here's a funny story in relation to that. Now, he works at a high school, okay? The high school librarian ordered a copy of 4x4 for the high school library. Decided the book was not appropriate.
Which is true.
Which is very true. However, that was not based on the stories. That was not based on this fine cover. That was based solely on the author biographies.
really?
That's all she read.
All she read was the biographies. And that led her to believe that the book was not appropriate. Good decision.
But they actually paid for the book, though.
Yes.
Oh, well, then you made a sale, so.
Got the trade paperback. She's a friend of the family, and there's also concerns that on her side probably that there might be repercussions for me if a student brought home a book and said, "Hey, look what Mr. Oliveri is publishing," But yeah,
We're not criticizing her choice.
Yeah.
She made the right decision.
And kids, Mr. Oliveri writes great sex scenes.
One of them actually found out. Hopefully his mom won't find out. He found out. But he was 18, fortunately. But yeah, I usually don't worry about censorship. They have other anthologies that I have been in. But my novel, I don't think is appropriate for a high school setting, especially considering I'm there and the kids, can react to it. I also don't think...
Go ahead and leave out that whole explicit sex thing.
Yeah. And, 4x4 has its moments, and I told her it might not be so bad, but, in thinking about it, I kind of think I'll probably be buying that book off the library and reselling it elsewhere.
I sort of find this would be a selling point, or at least a marketing point that you could say, hey, this book has been banned from a high school library. I picture Brian putting that on the cover.
I'll tell you, my first solo book, No Rest for the Wicked, is the most popular book. They can't keep it in the library at the Crescent State Correctional Facility in Pennsylvania. And that is a true story.
But it's because Brian has friends there.
Alumni.
Time there.
I want to ask something about maybe like some other writers, not necessarily talking behind their back or saying anything bad, but, I read a lot of things that people write about, especially I was going to say about like the polarization of some writers, but I read some people say, Edward Lee, like, oh, edgy, fantastic, and the stuff sells, and then other people are really upset about, his writing. Is that something that... Really?
What the hell with him?
Well, I think it's
A
laughable.
disclaimer, Lee is a good friend to all of us, and he's been very supportive.
Yeah.
It's laughable in my mind. Let's take Ed out of it. It's laughable in my mind that anybody can get upset about what anybody else writes. If you don't like it, don't read it.
Yeah.
That's simple.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not saying anything bad about him.
No, I'm saying it to the camera.
No, to me, that's what I would like to do. I would love to polarize people that way, or, I think, it's like...
In a way...
But you really can't, because even Lee, yes, he's written some of the hardest, edgiest stuff out there, but he's also written poetry. He's also written extremely in-depth nonfiction.
Science fiction.
Some excellent science fiction. He's written, in-depth studies of the Kennedy assassination, and you can't. He's written, articles for Gun Digest and stuff like that.
So you think maybe if someone does something...
You can't polarize somebody because no matter what you read from a writer, there's always something else.
So you think, though, that the people that would read something, they would hear that, oh, his stuff is violent, so they may just pass over the poetry and some of the,
Yeah, some of the other stuff, because, anybody that's a one-trick pony, anybody that says, oh, well, that writer's a one-trick pony, Anybody that's creative is not a one-trick pony, otherwise they're not truly creative and they're just a hack.
I can tell you writers that have got 20 books out that are one-trick ponies, but I agree with them. They're not writers.
They're hacks.
They're hacks.
B.C. Anders. I'm sorry.
Andrew Niederman. Oh,
No.
That was what I was going to
Guy
disagree
Smith.
with what Jack said about, anytime you go to the, if I heard you right, Jack, I'm not sure, if maybe I misunderstood you, is it maybe, I thought what I heard you said was that if you go to the small press, pretty much anything was through hard work. Oh, okay, no. Doesn't say, these guys, and, it's a fluke to go into the small press. I think, actually, you're anywhere to pick up something and have it be fantastic. It's a fluke these days. I think there's a lot of really mediocre writing out there. And within, I'm going to say, within the HWA and outside of the HWA.
Now, does the HWA is the World Writers Association, or
Horror Writers Association.
World Horror Writers.
Founded by
WHA, wasn't
Dean
it?
Koontz and Robert R. McCammon and all those great guys.
Is that one of the only horror writers? Is that the only horror writers group, or are there?
There are groups. Yeah, but it's the granddaddy. It's the union.
I think it's like 5 people.
Oh, is it a union?
No, it really aspires to be a union, but they're actually so impotent because if they were a union, we wouldn't still be getting 3 cents a word now, would we?
Thank you. Well, is there?
I'd be getting, I wouldn't have to. See that tooth right there?
That's going to look good on TV.
I don't care. I don't care. If the HWA actually had any power, we would have medical, we would have dental, we would have those things. We wouldn't be sitting here. A lot of writers keep their day jobs for the benefits.
Oh yeah, I would imagine.
I would be writing full time if I could get affordable benefits.
Wow.
But
Neil signed with us last night when he quit his job to write full-time. It was only because his wife had benefits as part of her job, and she still does.
Harry Shannon over here, if we turn the camera around. Harry Shannon, author of Bad Seed.
Beer!
There's your plug.
Beer! There's my blood. Great. Thanks.
You write full-time?
There's one for Dell.
There's one
No,
for
not
Dell.
yet. Not yet. Like the rest of you guys, I have day jobs.
There you go.
Thank you, Harry.
Buy his collection, Bad Seed. It's great stuff. Just give the $10 to Jeff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Discontent?
Yes, discontent. And is there is it possible just to start another group if one group doesn't?
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
We're not up to anything.
Oh, really? Oh.
Who, us?
Have I tapped into something?
Plans
yet?
afoot? Us?
Nah.
Well, what does it take to be a member of a group or an organization?
$55.
Any group that'll have me as a member, I don't want to be a part of it.
Thank you, Groucho.
I don't.
So, do you have to be a,
Well, no, the membership, the HW, I'm not as down on HWA as the rest of these guys. I don't think of it as a union, I think of it as a community. The HWA costs $55, same dues for everybody. They have the most contentious part, one of the most contentious parts about it is they have a hierarchy. You can join as an affiliate, or you can join as a professional. The definition of a professional is a total of 7,500 words sold at 3 cents a word with a minimum of 3 pieces. And I understand that contention, even though I'm not as down as HWA as the rest of these guys, because that's not my definition of a professional. Because you never have to prove it again. You just do 3 stories.
Technically, the 4 of us are considered professionals.
All 4 of us, but
There you go.
See what I'm saying? And he's right.
Said.
And he's right.
He's absolutely right.
He's absolutely right. I have, 3 stories, 7,500 words at 3 cents a word.
once.
Yeah, you only got to do that once in your lifetime, that isn't...
That's not Stephen King. That's not Dean Koontz. I'm not
that
Clive
isn't
Barker,
even
and he sure as hell ain't Anne Rice.
So I don't look bad in a tutu.
That's over your lifetime, you publish one story at 1,500 words in, 1986, and then 1996 you publish another one that's another 5,000 words at 3 cents a word, and you publish another one in another 10 years, and guess what? You're a professional. Yeehaw.
A perfect example of that conflict, a couple weeks ago, a guy came on there, and he's a pro writer on the strength of his nonfiction from stuff he wrote for like movie reviews, articles in the 80s, and then he does bodybuilding magazines, which has nothing to do with horror.
Well, technically, it's a pretty horrific lifestyle.
Yeah, steroid rage. Ooh. Anyway.
Oh, man.
so-
See, that's why God invented
he came on
45s.
to, yeah, he came on to the HWA message board, cracking down on a lot of the people saying, hey, I finally published this, I published that, and he just ripped these people, and there was a big fight between like Coop and I and Brian and this gentleman and gentleman loosely, this prick, I'll say it that way.
Can we say prick?
We did.
So anyway, it's basically the ultimate example of what's going on. You have these active members, the so-called professional members, just assuming affiliates are fans. Our current president has said on the message board that he assumes affiliates are just fans, and we have to earn our stripes. Apparently, a serious attitude isn't enough to be counted as somebody who wants to be a writer. Apparently, you have to have done it already, or they don't want to hear from you. And it's a circle. It's a vicious circle. I mean, where you start is you have to be published to get published, and chicken or the egg.
Are there situations where you have to belong to an organization to actually get published, or
Only if that, and with HWA, they do very occasional anthologies, where you have to be a member to submit to the anthology, but in almost all cases, a membership to HWA or any other writing organization doesn't get you anything. Where, if I was to pick an organization that I think gets you something, let's pick the Writers Guild. Is that a fair one?
Yeah.
The Writers Guild gets you a good insurance package. The Writers Guild gets you representation and help in court if you've got a copyright problem. The Writers Guild is not a union because
No, it isn't union.
It is a
You
union.
get minimum, yeah.
That's right, you get minimum rates.
Yeah.
So there's an example. Now I can tell you that, again, I don't detract too much from HWA. I can tell you that there are members in HWA who would like to be the equivalent of the Writers Guild, but part of the problem is I don't think we ever will be strong enough as a genre to come up with something like that. We'll never wield the power that a Screenwriters Guild can, because the whole country watches movies. And a good example would be when I tell somebody I write horror, they back up 3 steps. That's what the whole country thinks about horror writers. So we're not ever going to have that kind of power. So HWA can't be that.
where a magazine would say, oh, well, we will only accept, SAG members, or we will only
No.
accept, or something like that. I mean,
Like I said, HWA is a community.
No,
That's all it is. It has no formal power or even ability to influence. It doesn't
No,
even-
because you know what it is. I mean, HWA can't do that, and the magazines can't do that for HWA members,
Yeah, well-
because the really good writers in the genre, the really good ones,
Have left HWA.
they're not part of HWA.
Oh, well, what would they, but I mean, and why is that? Why?
Because they don't need it.
Don't need it, yeah.
I mean,
It doesn't.
why should Stephen King pay $55 a year to an organization and receive no benefits, and no
Well,
perks?
they won't publish an anthology without him anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're that big, you don't have to be a member because they'll come to you.
Maybe it's hard for him to get the $55.
Yeah. You can't find any bills that small.
Yeah. I mean, is it tax deductible to join?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Good write-off.
If you have an income, it's just like
Yeah.
claiming
If
anything
you,
else. I mean,
I itemized it, I deducted.
it's like claiming expense.
Okay, are there any final things that you would like to say in
Thanks for having us, Jerry.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for having us, and buy our books, damn it.
Yeah, I really want to try to keep, a thing going around, trying to, help more. Do you see anything like this being helpful at all? And, I mean, if someone sees this and says, hey,
You're going to get the two opposites here because he's the marketer and he's the...
I think it's helpful.
Yeah?
Coop?
I don't know. You know what? I'll be honest, dude. I didn't want to come.
Really?
No.
I can edit you out.
No, I mean, I don't get into the whole promotion thing.
You come across so well, though.
Yeah, that's great, But you know what? I don't want to come across great and have somebody go read me because they liked what I said to a camera.
Well, that's not why. While you were
I want them
gone,
to
Jen
see-
told him about the
Yeah,
rash.
that was what was great. So I think if anyone buys anything that you wrote, it'll be because of her.
Yeah, I mean, She's a lot cuter than me. But,
You're basically demonstrating what we talked about before.
it's
Jeff?
like, I want people to hear what I'm saying
Yes.
because they've liked what I read, not read me because they like what I'm saying now.
Jeff goes to the readers. He knows GothicNet draws a certain
Yeah.
audience. Boom,
You
he
know,
puts his stuff there.
I go for hardcover anthologies.
Right.
That is my first market. You know, and then I'll go to the professional paying magazines, and if it doesn't sell there, I don't sell it. I wait because there's, you know,
We're friends, but we don't necessarily agree.
Yeah, well, I think that's great, because, I mean,
Why? There's no group, there's no plan, you know, there's no leader. You know, I mean, Brian leads him, Mikey leads him, Mike leads him, and apparently, what was this crap about the rash?
Hardcover is why Jeff is in here. Otherwise,
not Jeff.
if we didn't get hardcover, we probably wouldn't have conned Jeff into doing this.
They wouldn't.
wow, okay, well, that's cool.
I'm that much of a prick, yes.
Well, I don't see it, I mean, I don't really see it that way, but, I mean, it sounds,
No, I
I
mean,
mean, everyone-
you know, I have,
I mean, everyone's got their, you know, their groove, I guess,
yeah,
the groove, you know?
yeah.
But, well, how about you? Anything else you want to add? Anything like any dates coming up? Or,
Well, I'm
with girls?
engaged, so
Okay,
I can't really date anymore. We've talked a lot about writing itself, and you know, I just want to say, it doesn't matter what group you belong to. It doesn't matter, you know, whether you're getting paid 3 cents a word, 1 cent a word, 8 cents a word. What matters is you turn off the PlayStation, forsake your family and loved ones, and glue yourself to that keyboard. That's what makes you a writer.
You know how you know when you're writing enough? You know how you know when you're writing enough? When the people that you care about are pissed off. Because you're sitting your ass in front of the computer.
Can we say ass?
I'm one of the two
I just
exceptions.
did.
Because Melissa will actually chase me to the keyboard and
That's
say,
because you're
need
driving
to
her
write."
nuts.
I'm the same way. I've been married for 14 years, and I got a really supportive wife and a really supportive son, and they know that. I mean, I go into the den and I shut the door and I disappear and I come out every hour to go to the bathroom because my bladder's that big, and I come out every 3 hours to refill my ice water. And
It's your bladder that's that big?
That's not all. I've got toes that big too.
is that how your groupies judge you by how large your bladder is?
Remember, Mike and I don't have groupies.
That's such a lie. That's such a lie.
And I'm the ugly beetle.
There you go. Let's talk about the girl in Seattle that walked up and asked you to sign her book.
Let's talk about the guy.
No, okay, I'll talk about that.
Let's talk about the one
They
that
like
wanted
to laugh at
that
me.
wanted you and me to sign her butt.
Yeah,
We have signed books.
that's a little more
Butt
exciting.
signings. Yes, we're all about butt signings.
No, I
I signed Mikey's butt.
He signed my butt. And I want you to know that he was the only sober person in the party, and he signed my butt.
Jack has doodled on my butt.
Doodled on my butt.
I can doodle on my butt. I'm gonna write that down.
We won't talk about that girl.
Well, so what about the girl?
comes back to that again. All right.
Not everyone
Basically, we were standing in a group in the hallway, and my book had just come out. That was the debut at World Horror Seattle, and this girl walked up, and I assumed I was in her way. You know, oh, I'm sorry, and I moved to make space, and she just holds up. She goes, "Is this your book?" And well, I don't know. Do your imitation.
Preface it with the fact that I am always telling these other three that people are reading us, and they tell me I'm full of shit.
You are full of
Can we
shit.
say
You are
shit?
full of
What you tell us.
You know how
So-
you tell if Brian's lying if his mouth is open.
And this is normally true, except when I'm talking about people reading. So, you know, he moves out of the girl's way, and she says, "Can you sign this for me?" And Mike does this really weird thing. Well, yeah, and he's beaming, and he's cherubic, and his hand's shaking.
I don't think it was that exaggerated. And but yeah, I mean, you know, I was surprised because you know, mostly my friends had bought it. And
So Mike does have groupies.
That happens to everybody when they get a chance to sign it. At Horrifying, Doug Clegg walked up to me and asked me to sign a copy of Best of Horrifying.
And I had to prop him up.
Yeah,
to
and pick me back up off the floor because it was Doug Clyde.
That's gotta be cool.
It was very
That's
cool.
gotta be cool. I mean, that's when you really feel like you've arrived, when you get someone that maybe that you admire and...
I signed something for Ed Bryant, and I really thought that I was gonna like spin out by the time I got to the second O in Cooper. I really thought I was gonna lose it. I mean, it's like,
You're Ed Bryant? Yeah, I'm just nobody.
How awesome would it be to have like your mentor ask you to sign something?
That'd be really cool because it's Poe and he's dead.
And then you... and then you sign it. And then, you sign your name and then he goes, oh, you're him. Oh, sorry. I was thinking of someone else,
I did have that happen once. With Best of Horrifying, all of us are in it, and there's another guy, Michael Lamo, who is also a good writer, but someone assumed I was him because they handed me the book and it was open to his story. So I just kind of stealthily turned over, okay, and went on. I mean, that was in Baltimore, but
Okay, guys, talk
also
about...
would not exist if not for Gak, because we said Gak's on it.
And this is one of the few places where we did all agree. We all agreed that we would not do this book unless we had Gak for the cover.
We wrote it together. They gave it to me to hammer out the business details. And the one thing we agreed on, and the one thing I put right up front with the publisher was, we don't sign a contract unless Gak does our cover.
Is that right?
yeah.
Really?
That was
Yeah, and that's really surprising because usually the writers don't have dick all to say about who does the cover at all.
Well,
I mean, and it's funny because Shane went with it.
Yeah, well, that's something we probably ought to add to this. Shane, there's a lot of small presses out there, and I've got to back Maria up on this. There's a fair amount of unprofessional small presses out there. Shane Staley and Delirium Books is a very professional press that does a good job.
Yeah, www.deliriumbooks.com. Go there, buy their stuff. Buy our stuff. You can buy it.
You can buy this for t-shirts. They make great Christmas gifts, Easter gifts, Halloween gifts, Thursday gifts.
Get out of jail gifts.
Kwanzaa, Boxing Day.
So, Gak, that's going to make you feel good the way we hear these things.
Don't forget Hanukkah.
Yeah, that's really great. Okay, well, I guess that's it. I want to thank everyone for being here.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.